Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Ronald Martell. He's joining us here as president and CEO at MorphImmune. He's going to talk about MorphImmune's proprietary platform that enables reprogramming or removal of aberrant cells. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Mr. Martell.
Thank you for having me, Neil.
Well, give us a bit of your professional background, if you would, and then talk about MorphImmune and what MorphImmune's vision is.
Sure. So I've personally spent about 30 plus years in the biopharma business, and largely in my career have worked on antibodies, proteins, genes, and mostly focused in the oncology space. With the advent of new tools and capabilities, we now have new abilities to create new therapies that we only dreamed about years ago. And that's led us to now start the company MorphImmune. We finally have the tools to be able to really alter and change the behavior of cells and their structures. And I think that that's going to lead us to an entire new paradigm for therapies for diseases and for patients that have a significant unmet medical need.
Now, is this technology initially for just cancer, or are there many other diseases that are being explored and considered?
We are exploring a wide range of diseases, and as the name implies in MorphImmune, we are morphing cell biology through best-in-class chemistry. It's a unique and new approach where we're using chemistry, and when I say chemistry, what I really mean are small molecules to affect biology. And historically, we've used biologics like monoclonal antibodies to affect biology, but we really haven't used chemistry to affect biology. And the approach that MorphImmune is taking is something that is really new and unique in that we are attempting to reestablish, if you will, immune-related diseases. And so those immune-related diseases do include cancer, but they also include diseases like pulmonary fibrosis or diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease. As you imagine, there's quite a long list that are driven by the immune system. And we're attempting to put the immune system back into its natural balance away from the disease state.
Basically, these molecules are chemically reprogramming these cells that cause these diseases.
That's the really interesting thing here. So we're using what are called ligands or ligands, which are very small molecules, and they occur naturally in our body. Ligands are the body's natural targeting source for a receptor on a cell. So every cell in the body has a series of receptors on their surface that are sort of the on-off switches for these cells that the body, in certain situations, you want the switch turned on, and sometimes you want it turned off. And these naturally occurring ligands are what normally do that on-off switching. And so what we're doing is we're taking those natural ligands and we're using those as the targets. So we can use these really small molecules to target only those cells that are aberrant or malignant or not functioning properly. And so we can target only the receptor on the surface of those unique cells. And what we do is we take this ultra small ligand, we then link it through a chemical linker to an effector molecule. So we figure out what receptor on a specific cell needs to be targeted, and then we link it to a specific effector molecule or a drug that will only go then to that cell. So it's very targeted for a specific disease state.
That precision targeting means that it won't affect any of the other healthy cells or non-aberrant cells ever?
That's correct. That's certainly the plan, and we have a large body of data now suggesting that, in fact, that's what we do. And so by having this highly specific targeting mechanism, we believe that this will then yield drugs that are more effective and safer. And as you point out, most therapies that people are given, in order for them to be effective, they need to get into every cell in the body. And so if that drug is also toxic to the cells that are not aberrant, then you have these side effects that are unwanted. And so we believe that we have the ability to only deliver that effector molecule or that specific drug to those cells that need it and avoid all the off-target effects in all of the normal or healthy cells.
Is there anything that you'd like to add about this technology before I get a web source where our listeners can learn more?
Sure. So the really interesting thing here is that we can target and deliver these effector molecules in concentrations that and deliver those to targets that are internal to the cell, thereby opening up disease states that where there are drugs that might work, but they're too toxic for that disease state. So there might be a drug that works well in cancer, but the toxicity profile is such that it's not an effective drug that you'd want to take for, say, rheumatoid arthritis. Mm-hmm. And so we believe that we have the opportunity to provide therapies and to not only bring therapies for patients who have disease states that have unmet medical needs, but new therapies. We believe that we can, in this highly targeted fashion, not only deliver drugs that are more efficacious, but also that have a better safety profile for these disease states that where a safety profile is one such that you would want a drug that does not have any adverse events or side effects.
Well, could you give us a website where we can learn a lot more about MorphImmune? Sure.
The website is www.morphimmune.com, and that's MorphImmune.com.
Well, I appreciate you joining us here on the program. Hopefully we'll have an opportunity to speak again in the future.
Thank you, Neil. I really appreciate your time this evening.
You as well. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Ronald Martell, President and CEO at MorphImmune. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.